These aren't in the right order, Adam.
These are not in the right order. We were doing so good. Oh, here they are. God damn it.
Worse than that time the boom came down into the shot.
Jeez. Hey PC World fans, Adam here with Will, and we have been reviewing the RTX 40 series super refreshes. Up on today's docket is the RTX 4080 Super. The Super line brings some changes. It depends on which version that you're getting. At the 4080 Super level here, there's not a ton of changes, but we will get into that, including some gaming benchmarks, some content creation benchmarks, power, thermals, ray tracing, all that kind of stuff. So let's dig in. So first up, before we get into the benchmarks, let's look at the specifications, and they kind of fall in two buckets. One is how is the 4080 Super the same as the 4080 non-Super, and how are they different?
What makes it super, Adam?
What makes it super? Well, first let's talk about what makes it just the same. They both are running off the AD103 die, so no change in process there. They both target 4K gaming. That's kind of where Nvidia positions these cards, along with the 4090. They both feature 16 gigs of DDR6X memory, and they both have a 256-bit memory bus width. They both are rated at 320 watt TGP, and that's where the similarities end. So, what makes them different?
What makes them super,
Here
Adam?
we go. Let's go over this big list of, well, there's a CUDA core count increase from 9,728 to 10,240. So, NVIDIA just found some... NVIDIA,
500.
Yeah, 500. NVIDIA found some over in the corner, and they just sprinkled a little bit more CUDA cores on there for you.
You think that really means that they found more? Or you think that they're just making the chips better now?
I know. I think they found it.
Oh, the CUDA fairy came down and sprinkled them on the GPUs.
Exactly. And a little bit of clock speed increase, but really why the 4080 Super exists is to drop the price. So the starting price of the 4080 non-Super was $1,200, and the starting price for the 4080 Super is $1,000.
That's a lot cheaper.
That is a lot cheaper, and some would say where it should have launched. I think as we'll go through this, quickly high level is that guess what? They're pretty much the same cards, just at a cheaper price.
And itsy bit faster.
Itsy bit faster. And some of that really depends on the model and version that you get. So I actually have 3 versions here in front of me. All right, the first card up is an Asus ProArt GeForce RTX 4080 OC edition. So this is the non-super version. For the super versions, I have the Founders Edition of the Nvidia GeForce RTX 4080 Super. But then also I got in this beautiful guy, one of the only new shroud designs for this whole super launch. This is an MSI GeForce RTX 4080 Super Expert Edition. So very pretty, kind of has that same flow-through cooler design. Really nice, really nice. We are also going to compare it to this. This is the Sapphire Radeon RX 7900 XT.
It's the top of the line?
So this is just the XT. This is not the top of the line. I only had so much testing in the time of day, and guess what? I already knew how the 4080 Super was going to stack up, so I didn't really feel like rerunning those numbers, but that's the closest equivalent that I have.
Got it.
But guess what? When at launch, this card was $900.
Yeah.
Since the release of the Super Series, this has dropped to $750. Which is definitely a price decrease over these other ones. And if we look at the actual price of this version of the 4080 non-super, this one came in at $1,400.
The Orange County edition?
The Orange County edition came in at $1,400.
That's an expensive card, Adam.
$200 over the MSRP just to get this one.
Just to be clear, that's also $200 under the MSRP of the 4090 at launch.
Of a stock, yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's an expensive card, Adam.
It's an expensive card, and so $1,400. This one is $1,000, and then the MSI Expert Edition comes in at $1,150.
Have you ever considered reviewing video cards by weight?
You know what? Well, I would tell you this Expert Edition wins Yeah, I think the Expert is probably heavier. I actually don't know the specifications, but it is a chunky one. Okay, well, with all that out of the way, let's get to the benchmarks, because I know you're excited to see these numbers. They have to be really different, right?
I bet this is going to blow the socks off of the 4080 non-super. I bet I'm ready. My mind is ready to be blown.
So first up is the single solitary synthetic benchmark that I have. This is 3D Mark Speedway. This is a DX12 Ultimate test meant to really stress these cards and especially see how well they do under heavy workloads like RT and all the DX12 features. Yes.
Adam, that number is not very much bigger than the other
You know what? Hey, but technically, the super cards are bigger bar better. So.
It's a little itsy bitsy bit bigger.
Yeah.
It is $200 cheaper.
But it is cheaper. Well, in the case of the ProArt, it's $400 cheaper.
Okay, well, but I...
Asterisk. I know. MSRP. Okay. Let's get into actual gaming.
Yeah.
I have a couple different categories here. We've got 1440p results, which, I mean, this game is targeted at 4K, but we might as well show the 1440p results. I have 4K results. I also have RT results as well, because you should be able to do some pretty good ray tracing on this. First up is 1440p in Cyberpunk, which even without ray tracing is pretty damn intensive. And
hey, Adam.
Yes.
The bigger bar is not bigger. It's a little bigger.
Well,
one of the bars is a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and wait, that's weird. The AMD card
is the same.
Is about the same for about
a lot less.
A lot less. Yeah, so okay, maybe that's just Cyberpunk. Next one, Returnal, 1440p.
Hey, Adam.
Okay. Yes.
The numbers are the same.
Okay, well, we got to find one of these. Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Those numbers are the same.
Hey, 40 super.
It's
bigger bar better. Bigger bar better. And in this case, definitely much improved over the AMD card.
There's an AMD gap in the tomb.
There's an AMD gap. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Siege.
Oh wow.
Wow. Oh, Yeah. Okay. We're okay.
Yeah.
All right. F1 2022.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, actually, in this one, the AMD one is technically
kind of
better. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I will say real quick, I went through and reviewed the Founders Edition first. When I came back to testing this MSI Expert, there's an update to Call of Duty that broke the benchmark for me, so I don't have that number. But guess what? Same number.
Thanks, Microsoft.
Yeah. Okay. Watch Dogs Legion. Oh yeah.
That's a little bit bigger, but I don't think it matters all that much. $200 cheaper though.
$200 cheaper. Okay, well that's it for 1440p. So, but guess what?
What if there were more P's?
Yeah, these are targeted 4K. So no matter what, you knew you were going to get a good experience of 1440p.
We could be hitting some upper limits of the raster perf with memory bandwidth and all that. Maybe it's just not enough P's.
All right, let's crank up all the P's. Go back to Cyberpunk 2077 with no ray tracing and actually
the bigger
it's within margin of error.
Yeah, that's fair.
And also at 4K, the AMD card is
with no ray
right
tracing
there.
on the AMD card is highly competitive.
Okay. Returnal. Wait, hold on. Okay, we're just gonna.
Wow, these numbers are all very much the same.
Okay, these are probably going by real quick in the video form. Watch Dogs.
This is less super than I was expecting, Adam.
Okay, well, that was it. I guess this video's over. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, maybe ray tracing. Maybe ray tracing.
There's more cores.
There's more cores.
More cores is
cheaper
better.
Price.
Yeah.
Okay, so when looking at RT, I did test things a little bit differently. This is not just pure RT. We have a couple different kinds of flavors of RT, but also I always felt like even at the 4080 level, if you're going to be running RT, you're probably going to be using some sort of upscaling technology alongside it. To keep things on an even playing field with the AMD card, I picked FSR to upscale them with. Obviously, you might be able to get better results out of DLSS, but to keep things even, I just went with FSR. So Cyberpunk is kind of one of the shining beacons of ray tracing on the PC.
This is the high watermark for ray tracing.
This is the high watermark. Yeah. You can do path tracing. You can melt GPUs with it. Here, I decided to do RT medium with FSR set to balanced. At 1440p, that means we're turning in a render resolution of 1506 by 847. So
America's favorite resolution.
Exactly. Yeah, above 720p but below 1080p. And you know what? These are playable. This is over 60 frames per second, close to 120 frames per second.
I'm going to tell you. Well, I think the Founders Edition is clocking in the same speed as the Asus ProArt card, which bigger bar is exactly the same. It seems like in that case, this is a situation where if I was playing Cyberpunk, I would actually on this card, I would turn the settings up probably for my own personal preference.
Okay,
this is but
or the resolution.
One or the other, yeah.
Let's go to 4K. This is 4K with FSR set to balanced, and it is a rendering resolution of 2259 by 1270, so between 1080p and 1440p.
Wow.
And here, boom, right there, smooth 60.
59, I think you mean.
You know, close enough.
59, Adam.
Yeah.
All three of them are 59.
rounding up to smooth 60. You know, that's playable, right?
I expect the supers to be slightly more super here.
All right. Well, hey, either way, with RT in this game, they definitely have a sizable lead over the AMD card.
Yeah, the ray tracing isn't AMD's time to shine, clearly.
But it is also $300 cheaper. So you know.
I like $300. I can do.
Well,
I can have a lot
250.
I can have a lot of fun with $250. It turns out.
Well, okay. So I mean, either way, you're already getting a good experience on the non-super version of the 4080 in Cyberpunk. You know, you can mess around with it. There's so many variables you can tune. I had to stick with certain ones for the benchmarking. I wish I could have done more. So who knows? That's just the testing I did here.
And the thing it's worth mentioning with ray tracing, developers pick and choose the features they want to support. Some are heavier than others. Global illumination, where you replace all of the lights in your game with dynamic ray trace lights, crazy expensive. That's what you do with path tracing, basically. In Cyberpunk, Returnal, which is our next test,
is something we'll see more often. Is ray tracing kind of implementation for the consoles that's ported over to the PC. Obviously, the PC can do more, ray tracing and at better quality, but
they're picking and choosing, right? So they're doing like a little bit of reflections or a little bit of shadows or some dynamic lights, stuff like that. They're not doing a full light, entire world light map. They're not doing reflections on everything. They're not doing reflections in all the puddles and stuff like that.
Yeah. So Returnal is a little bit more indicative of ray tracing
ported from an Xbox
from a PC.
Series X or PS5.
Rather than the to the wall approach of Cyberpunk. For this one, same thing, FSR set to balanced in both resolutions. But this one, I actually did turn the ray tracing preset all the way to epic. So the most ray tracing you can get in this game, and 170 frames across
Flat across the board.
Flat across the board.
$200 off though, huh?
$200 off. That is nice. Bump it up to 4K, and actually it's okay.
It's
same.
Exact,
same.
Yeah.
And has a healthy lead over AMD. But once again, there is definitely different ways to slice it.
More than playable
settings.
4K perf though.
More than playable 4K perf, which we already had.
Yeah.
TLDR.
The 4080 non-super is going away though, right?
4080 non-super is going away, yeah. So this is just a supplant of it at its new cheaper price. So, so for gaming benchmarks, not much to talk about here, but I do want to cover a couple more things before we get out of here. First up is the power draw. It's the same TGP, so you would assume that it's going to actually be the same power draw. But
it's a little better.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit better. The way that I tested it was to run F122 on loop, have hardware info in the background recording what its highest peak values for power draw were on the GPU itself.
And die temperature as well in a moment.
Yeah. We'll get to temperatures in a moment. But yeah, it's all within the same ballpark. But yeah, the actual Founders Edition was able to clock in about 20 watts cooler.
And this is the difference. I mean, I assume there's a little bit of an overclock on the MSI board.
Yeah.
So
just a little bit.
They juice the power up a little bit just so you don't have any stability problems or whatever.
And either way, that Founders Edition is almost 100 watts less, using 100 watts less energy than the 7900 XT.
So there's some irony here to Nvidia crushing it into the smaller bar better category.
yeah, exactly. So that doesn't change the conversation about having Nvidia be a lot more power efficient. Still applies here. Nothing really changes. But for temperatures, things are a little bit different here. This was actually kind of surprising because this 4080 non-super is the smallest of the cards. I mean, it's still a bigger card, but it's definitely smaller. Where this MSI Expert, I mean, this is a big honking boy with like 2 huge fans. It's actually pretty damn close to the same design as the Founders Edition, but it actually has this like major shroud around it. So I thought, oh, maybe it was going to be able to take the heat and dissipate it a little bit better. But the way that I measured it here, the Founders Edition is actually 10 degrees cooler. In this test than the MSI Expert.
Look, the blow-through design that Nvidia came up with for the, I guess it started with the 3000 series,
yep.
is pretty remarkable in the amount of cooling that they can pack into a video card size space, or in the case of the 4080 Super and the 4090s, a bigger than video card size space. This MSI card is gorgeous, though. I kind of don't care that it's a little hotter.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely. I mean, and actually, the smaller ProArt card is about 4C cooler, so I was surprised by that.
It's interesting because MSI is using a fan with a lot more blades on it. I wonder if they're trying to run slower to keep it quieter or something, and as a result are willing to take a little more heat.
Which I will say, I didn't do audible testing or audio testing. My background's in audio. I just didn't. If I'm of the mindset that if I can't do it right, then I don't want to put out crap numbers out there. So, you know, it could be a quieter card. I didn't test.
You don't have an anechoic chamber in here somewhere?
Not yet. That's next year.
Stretch goal.
Yeah, stretch goal. But listen, one of the things I did notice when I was going through and getting these GPUs ready is that, interesting. This one, it's the Pro card.
Yeah.
It is aimed at professionals. This one, the MSI Expert. Aimed at expert professionals.
This one is aimed at founders, I guess.
Yeah, that's at founders, right? Which is why there's so few of them out there.
Yeah.
So, you know, you would think, okay, well, maybe the actual founders or the professional versions of this is kind of where Nvidia might be aiming this GPU at rather than gamers. So I do want to get into just a little bit of light video editing testing. Actually, for GPUs in the future, I want to do a lot more than just gaming because a lot of us build computers and do a lot of work on them, and I kind of want to see how they do. I do have a much larger video where I'm going to go into a lot of testing for video editing specifically across a whole range of GPUs, but I just want to give a little taste in two of them. We got Premiere Pro in DaVinci Resolve. I did not run the MSI Expert. I just ran the Founders Edition because, you know, whatever. It's the same. There's a lot of GPUs in this roundup. And I'm not going to get into the subscores. This is just the overall score. But guess what?
That's for another video.
Yeah, it's for another video. In the Premiere Pro benchmark from PugerBench, guess what? Same thing.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same thing.
It's as if they're the same card.
As if it's the same card. And
you did remember to change them between runs, right?
Oh, crap. I knew I forgot something. I'm just kidding. I did.
Yeah, he did.
Same thing for DaVinci Resolve. It actually turns in a similar score. Funny enough, it actually turns in a very similar score compared to the 4070 Ti Super.
It's weird. Those cards all have 16 gigabytes of memory.
Interesting, huh?
Weird.
Okay, well, you know what? If you want to know the subscores and how your workloads might differ on these, then tune in later for that testing.
Yeah.
But you know, the final thing to kind of round out about this is that, you know what it is. I mean, Nvidia didn't come out and say that it was going to be that different either. Like even in the official benchmarking guide, it was like, hey, 1 to 3% faster. And honestly, that's kind of what we saw. And honestly, when in the cases that we did see the little bit bigger of a bar better, it was the MSI Expert version, just because of the higher clocks and.
I mean, honestly, it seems to me like the thing here is that maybe you should keep an eye peeled for a clearance 4080 non-super. See if you scoop one of those bad boys up before they go away.
Also, I will say, yes, this was $1,400.
Then.
Then. they are making the super version of this one, you know, and this is $1,000. But one of the reasons I do love this card is that you can't fit a 4090 in many small form factor cases.
That's true.
Right? This is the closest you can get to a 4090 in really small form factor cases. So
that'll fit in like a
Fractal Terra. I have it in a Fractal Terra, and it's just like oodles of room. So it is, you know, of the 4080 and above, this is easily, I have never found a smaller card.
So it's like buying a Porsche. You're not buying it for the trunk space. You're buying it for
For the
tight
tininess,
package
the
and a
tininess.
lot of performance in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's definitely a reason for it. And, I mean, it's still performant. Obviously,
Yeah.
we saw it's turning in a better cooling score than this big honking
If we were
MSI
looking
Expert.
for frames per milliliter, that one would definitely own.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, it's still a good card. I mean, and some of this comes down to aesthetics, too. You
Yeah.
know, like, I think we all really love the MSI Expert. I mean, the Founders Edition is classic. In the Super version, you get this matte black. But the ProArt, I actually do like the black and gold ProArt aesthetic.
It has
I've
Pro
always
written
kind
on the back too.
Yeah. That's how you know it's professional.
When you have it plugged in, when you have it plugged into your motherboard and you're looking at it through your case window, you'll see
that.
every day that you're a pro.
Exactly. Yeah. So whatever that's worth to you, then go with God. But
I'll be honest. I look at these, and having lived through a couple of generations of these Founders Edition cards now, I always worry about getting the dust out, because even with dust on the intake and all that, it's still hard to get the dust blown out of these.
I do not do a standardized dust.
I know it's too.
benchmarks.
Look, you're not going to blow the floor's earth in there and see what happens.
It actually would be kind of fun though.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, listen, to step back for a minute, this is still powerful cards. I think the price adjustment definitely helps with it. You're getting a lot of performance out of it. You're getting DLSS 3, frame gen, great RT performance, all that kind of stuff. So it is a known quantity. It's just a cheaper known quantity, right?
Yeah.
On the other end, on the Radeon side, I mean, for $250 less, you're getting, for the most part, pretty comparable rasterized performance. Ray tracing, it falls behind. In some creative workloads, it's going to fall behind a little bit as well, depending on whatever you use. But, I mean, it's definitely something to consider, for sure.
It's worth mentioning, this is a 2-slot card. This is a 2-slot card. These are both 3-slot cards.
It's a little over 2-slot, but yeah.
It's 2 and change.
Yeah. This is almost a pure 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are 3-slot cards for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, lots of fun stuff. I hope some of this helped with people getting their buying decisions in. If anything, you just got to marvel at how pretty the MSI Expert card is.
It's a nice looking card.
Yeah, it's a nice looking card. It's very heavy. Thank you, Will, for chatting with me about these GPU reviews. I really appreciate your expertise as somebody who has reviewed GPUs for years and years.
I'm really excited to come out here and help you pull out the differences in these very similar products.
You're very subtle when you're going over them.
I like to play it real casual, so nobody knows how I really feel.
And if you want to stay tuned for the big GPU video editing testing, please subscribe here, because that video is going to be coming soon. A lot of testing went into that. I'm excited to shoot that video. Until then, thank you everybody, and we will catch you in the next video.